Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Mainline's The Meta. I'm your host, Charles Powers, joined today by Tom Marzullo. Tom, I am very excited to have you on the show as one of our very first guest hosts. Welcome to the show.
Well, I'm happy to be on. It's a real pleasure. You know, I've been in esports for a long time. I'm still sort of a young guy, right? So I grew up with it. I started as a pro player, then I was a coach for Overwatch. I had a YouTube channel, then I was talent for tournaments, and then I was an observer, and then a producer. I don't know. I've done so much stuff.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's been a great journey. And now I'm on TV to talk about esports.
Now you're on TV to talk about esports. The come up is real. Okay, so today we have a really, really awesome show for you guys. We're gonna be doing our very first tech segment. Check this out. And in today's tech segment, we're gonna be taking a look at Astro Gaming's new awesome C40 controller.
That's right. I've actually taken a look at this controller. It's really cool. So I personally like playing fighting games, but I've never been good at using the joystick, the arcade stick that the pro players use. I always use a pad, the controller, and it's so hard to find a good one. This looks like the pad for me for fighting games, so I can't wait to use it.
Yeah, and speaking of fighting games, we took a look at a game called Fantasy Strike at PAX South. It is a really cool game, and we're gonna be showing you that later on in the show.
First, though, I think we have our PUBG correspondent, Mustache Dave.
We do.
He's joining us to discuss the inaugural Pro League. He's going to break the league down and give us some insight as to what to look for, teams to watch, all the good stuff.
Yeah, and this, with the season already kicking off, there are some very interesting storylines there. But before we get into that, we're going to start the show off, as we always do, with our top esports headlines of the week. Here we go. This is The Meta. We start the night with League of Legends news. The LCS started last week, which meant players are back to doing what they do best, throwing shade. With most of the teams making changes to their roster in the offseason, there may be some animosity between players and their old orgs. But in all honesty, though, most of the time, players aren't actually trying to throw shade. They're just answering the questions in an interview and giving their honest answers. In an interview with Esports Heaven, Echo Fox's Hakuho, he was asked about Golden Guardian's bot lane, and his response was, they're definitely on the weaker side. Unless they're playing Draven with a good support matchup, it's hard for them to get priority, and they have poor decision making, whereas Apollo and myself are really confident. Another player, Ruler, was asked in an interview with Invent Global. Lastly, if you were to say something to your old partner, CoreJJ, who won in his first game abroad, what would you say? And to me, that seems like a moment to say congratulations, but Ruler went with, I saw CoreJJ dying ridiculously many times in today's match. You gotta try harder. I just kind of feel like, you could have just been like, he was good,
Yeah, oftentimes Koreans are pretty savage when they're criticizing and talking about teammates. It's all about the game and the competition for them. So, if Young was dying, he was dying. This is just after 1 week of North American play. I can't wait to see what happens the rest of the season. This is better than afternoon soap operas, honestly.
Better than the soaps, man? You're right. It is. It is.
Another competition not lacking in drama, though, was the Dragon Ball FighterZ World Tour's final. The World Tour was a set of 7 tournaments, with the winner of each receiving a unique Dragon Ball. So cool, so cool. Sadly, one person didn't win them all, so we didn't get to see the Dragon Summon, but the finals favorite, Kazunoko, did manage to collect 4 for himself. Very impressive. The other 3 Dragon Balls were divided between Sonic Fox, Goichi, and Hook Gang God. The finals saw Dragon Ball holder Kazunoko defeat Fenridi and the finals trophy to his substantial collection. Sonic Fox was disappointed, but not deterred. Shortly after his 5th place finish, he tweeted this: biggest self-reflecting of the tourney was I should play a new team and not tilt from dropping combos. Y'all know me already. Lose one tournament and then obliterate everyone at the next one. Kaz, he's lucky he ain't run into me. I'm so motivated right now. Losing keeps me in check.
You know what? I'm gonna translate it for you guys a bit.
Yeah.
He said, basically, I didn't play my best, but if the guy that had basically been dominating everyone faced me, I would have beat him. Swag.
In college news, this week, the president of the NCAA, Mark Emmert, made a few statements about collegiate esports. Now, it's worth noting that his first remark, which is the following, We know a lot of the content is hugely misogynistic. Now, that's not wrong and severely needs to be addressed, but then he said the following. We know that some of the content is really violent. We don't particularly embrace games where the objective is to blow your opponent's head off. We know that there are serious concerns about health and wellness around those games. All right, now, first off, most games do not have the objective of blowing your opponent's head off.
Right.
I mean, it's usually just the best way to win.
Yeah.
It's just the consequence of winning, right? The objective. Now, secondly, a lot of people will say that the NCAA already has violence with football, which is true. But more to the point of if 18-year-olds can join the military, why can't they choose to compete in violent games? It's a big controversy over these statements. Now, this is also coming from an institution based on 18-year-olds making choices that will affect the rest of their lives. And finally, health and wellness of teens and young adults is a major concern outside of gaming too.
Yeah, and it's also a major concern for collegiate athletes as well. Now, Mr. Emmert also had concerns about esports and sports betting, but these are topics for a different day. We've talked about the NCAA, we've talked about this on the show a couple of times already, and I'll actually be kind of curious, Tom, to hear what you think. Like, what's your take on this whole, esports are not going to be a part of collegiate sports, collegiate athletics from the NCAA? What's your take on that?
It's something that's really difficult to get into because the NCAA has a certain culture. It's obviously very different from the culture that has kind of grown up by itself in gaming. Sports has always been very structured. The reason is because to play sports, you need to be in a structure. You can't just go play football by yourself. You can play League of Legends by yourself. You can go and play a fighting game online by yourself. It's a very different concept that online gaming has brought to the table. So it's going to be interesting seeing how the NCAA and colleges try to take what's really just this Wild West type of thing where anyone can go and become a pro player by their individual merit and try to form it into a structure. It'll be something that I think everyone's going to be looking at over the next couple of years.
Very valid. And, I also think that the NCAA is also going to have to address a couple of things because as the current structure stands, no player is going to want to forfeit making however much money they can make outside of the NCAA if the current structure stands. So that is going to be interesting. Very, very, very interesting comments you had. When we come back, Mustache Dave reports on the NPL and gets you caught up on everything you need to know before the start of the inaugural season. Don't go anywhere. The Meta will be right back. Welcome back to the Meta. Now, here at Mainline, PUBG holds a special place in our hearts, and we're pretty excited about the first Pro League season. And we had to have our buddy Mustache Dave join us to share some of his insights.
That's right. Today, Mustache Dave reports on the NPL. This guy is such a character, Charles. Let's take a look.
What's going on? I'm Mustache Dave, and I'm here today to break down the National Pro League for you. So, around January 7th, we saw invited teams and qualifying teams all come together. There's 32 teams in total, and they competed for $100,000 and one of 16 spots to make it into the National Pro League. The National Pro League starts February 1st, and it's going to be 2 days a week, Fridays and Saturdays for the next 6 weeks. So, out of those qualifiers and those invited teams, those 32 teams, like I mentioned, only 16 made it. Let's take a look at which 16 made it. So here are the 16 teams that did qualify. We got Simplicity, Ghost Gaming, Y10 Fate, E United, Cloud9, Wildcard. You can see it all right there. There's actually a couple teams that just caught everybody off guard. Now, one team in particular that did a phenomenal job at the qualifiers, and we'll see if they can continue with that momentum, is Simplicity. They dominated it. They did a fantastic job. Although they didn't win the $100,000 cash prize, that went to Tempo Storm. I'm still looking forward to the matches that we're going to see from Simplicity. A couple other squads, or one squad in particular, that in my opinion is going to be killing it this season in phase number 1 of the National Pro League. Y10 Fate. They used to be Optic, they all Optic didn't want to take part in phase number 1, so they dropped them. And then the Y10 Fate, they stayed together. They're gonna play it out. They're gonna play phase number 1 together and then see how that goes. They have been doing a phenomenal job in the scrim servers that I've been spectating, so I'm looking forward to watching them. And not only that, it was Noble. The very last day of qualifiers, Noble, they were outside of the top 16. No one even thought that they would make it, but they shot up that leaderboard and they broke into that top 16. So was Noble, were they just lucky? Were they just lucky? Did they get favored of the circles that day? Or is it all skill? We'll have to find out, because with the 6-week pro league, we're going to have a better understanding of which team stands out from the other. So as mentioned, January NPL, we had the qualifiers. Now we're moving into phase number 1. And then after phase 1, you can see we're going to have the global event, and then phase 2. The way this works is at the end of phase 1, the teams from contenders, the top teams from contenders and the bottom teams from the NPL lobbies, they're going to duke it out and see who makes it into the phase number 2. Not only that, there's open. So the opens are going to be played throughout the whole time as well. And the top 2 teams from the opens will breach into the contenders. So it allows everybody to kind of have their shot to make it into the Pro League, which I feel is very important. Then we see all the way at the end, the Global Championship PUBG. That's where all the teams from across the world, the very best teams, are going to duke it out on the main stage, on the global stage. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. So as mentioned, there's 16 teams that are going to play throughout phase 1. 10 of those teams who are in the top 10 will make it into phase 2 of the NPL, and then the bottom 6 have to face relegation. So there's a lot on the line for these teams when it comes to orgs, when it comes to money, and when it comes to roster swaps later on down the road. As always, I'm Mustache Dave. Hope you guys have a great day.
Fantastic insights. Thanks for breaking things down. Mustache Dave, man, he's a pro. I am very excited to see how things shape up this season.
Oh yeah, same here. PUBG, the pro scene of PUBG has just been growing and growing and building, and I can't wait to see how an official pro league plays out. Now, when we return, we're gonna take a closer look at that game-changing new controller we were talking about earlier, the Astro Gaming C40. You don't wanna miss it. The Meta will be right back.
Welcome back to the Meta. That was nice. That was nice, taking us off a break like that. You're already a pro at this, Buck. We don't need you anymore. Just stay home. Just stay home. Now, Tom, would you say that the controller is one of the most important parts of gaming? I'm not gonna say esports, because I know esports folks, you don't necessarily need controllers, right?
True. I mean, really, there's only one thing that's between you and the game, and it's the controller. It's the peripheral, the mouse, the keyboard, the controller, the gamepad,
joystick,
whatever it is. That is your input. It's like your legs, your arms. That's like saying, are your hands and fingers important to living? Absolutely. You need a high-quality controller to get the best experience out of a game. It's just like you need your hands to get the best experience out of life. There's no other way to slice it.
Exactly. I'm glad we both agree. We see the importance of it. So while at PAX South a few weeks back, we got our hands on the Astro Gaming C40 gaming controller. It is a beast of a peripheral. Let's check it out. Known for their top-of-the-line gaming headsets that changed the landscape of live competitions, Astro Gaming now has a sight set on another peripheral market, controllers. And their flagship device, the Astro C40 TR controller, is in a class completely by itself. The C40 has been designed from the ground up with pro gamers and professional tournaments in mind. Aspiring pros, hardcore gamers, or really anyone who sees the value of a completely customizable controller will have a lot to like about this piece of gear. One of the greatest features of the C40 TR is the fact that all of the buttons, the sticks, and the D-pad are all replaceable, swappable, completely customizable. The amazing rear button layout improves precision during critical moments. Mappability streamlines the controller for any player's style while improving response time and accuracy. The C40TR also comes with software that enhances the customization even further. You can adjust the trigger sensitivity, the stick sensitivity, you can remap buttons, adjust dead zones, tweak the EQ, the audio output, the mic out, and side tones. All of these things can be done by creating profiles that can be switched directly from the controller itself. Man, look, I'll tell you straight up, this thing is a beast, and playing with it, the grip, the feel, the weight, the buttons, the triggers, everything was on point and very well thought out. The C40TR will retail for about $200. With this being Astro's first jump into the controller market, we can't wait to see what else they could have in store for us in the future. Though this particular controller is only compatible with PC and PlayStation, we can expect an Xbox flavor and maybe even a fight stick? With all that being said, the C40TR looks like a huge win and definitely a great step in the right direction for Astro Gaming. Welcome back to the Meta. At PAX South this year, we were on the hunt for new games to pick our interest. Last week, we showed you Splitgate, a Halo Portal type crossover, and this week, we'll be showing you Fantasy Strike.
You know, I checked out Fantasy Strike myself, and it really is a love letter to fighting game fans and newbies alike. The game focuses on being accessible, easy to pick up, and difficult, of course, difficult to master, so important for the fighting game genre. It's developed by one of the OGs of the fighting game scene, a deeply passionate fighting game fanatic by the name of David Sirlin. Without further ado, this is Fantasy Strike.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm here with David. I just finished playing Fantasy Strike. This game is kind of awesome, man. Tell us a little bit about Fantasy Strike.
So Fantasy Strike is a fighting game, obviously, and I have a lot of background in fighting games. I was the lead developer of Street Fighter HG Remix. I helped run EVO a long time ago. I was top 8 at EVO 3 times, so I'm really hardcore. And I've been in the FGC as a competitor, as a tournament organizer, you know, as a game developer, all sides of it. And Fantasy Strike is me taking what I think is fun about fighting games that I know about and giving it to the rest of the world. Now, on the one hand, because I come from such a hardcore background, this is, believe it or not, a hardcore game. You know, it's an esport game. It's actually made for tournaments, and there's a lot of little nuances in it that are the way they are specifically for competitive play in tournaments. And it's a game for me to enjoy playing, you know, not get bored of, right? But at the same time, what we're trying to do is really speed up the onboarding process. Like the part going from 0 to competence, make that as fast as possible and not waste your time. You don't have to worry about joystick inputs like quarter circles and dragon punches and all that. Combos themselves are easy. That may be controversial, but it's really about, can you get in the position to land the combo? And the decisions that go into, you know, being able to land the combo, not the actual execution. The life bars in chunks, did you notice that? Yeah. That's unusual, so that's just to make it more readable. Like, you have 6 hit points, a jumping combo, like jump, attack, land, attack, fireball, something like that. 3 hits, 3 damage. Before you even do it, if they have 3 hit points, you know you're gonna kill. Understandable. There's a move list that fits on the screen, on one screen, that you can get with annotations that tells you what it's all for. To say, like, here's your whole character on one screen. We've even included tutorial videos in the game itself where I narrate for every character what all their moves are, how they work, all their properties, and their basic strategy to get you going. So I could go on and on, but you get the idea. It's a lot of stuff to get you to the real game quickly. I think any competitive game wants to be like the staple at all the community-run events. Like, you know, not us doing it, but that people would want to do it. People take it on. So I mean, those things are the dream, but those things only happen with community support.
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Had a blast playing this game. It's not often that you pick up a fighting game for the first time and you're like, wow, okay, I get it. These are the moves and I'm having fun. Like that ramp on was amazing. Really hoping that the community really picks this up because this is fantastic. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, and just to build on your last point, another thing that's so fun for me is that if I watched you play, for example, I could give you tips for 1 minute or 5 minutes, and you could immediately implement those tips.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to training mode.
Yeah.
So I can train you
I
more
noticed
quickly.
that. I noticed that. It was some of the characters and some of the specific uses of their roles. Someone was over my shoulder like, hey, okay, so this character, you want to dive in. This character is more like Zangief, so this is what you want to do. And instantly, I was like, okay, cool. So that is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, definitely check it out. Okay, so it looks like we've made it to the end of this episode. Tom, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Thank you, Tom, for being a part of the show. We hear you guys like bloopers, so here it is, a highlight reel of our weekly mess ups.
Don't show it.
You did really well, but we're gonna show it. Thank you guys
You're
so
gonna
much.
show it.
Peace.
Bye-bye. I thought the
Yeah.
entire time it would just be like,
Hey, well, I up.
tour. Nope. Now,
Piranha plant, man. Nope, not man, main.
Maine. I think you should be a piranha plant Maine. So,
I feel like
basically,
I feel like Buck and Bot, like I have taken on Buck.
basically,
I was like, I feel good about this.
let me just
All
destroy
things
it.
Smash related.
You should definitely not wait.
I should not wink.
It's supposed to be Buck when but it's just like
Yeah.
You can get him that as a Christmas gift. Well, that doesn't make sense. I'll just say gift. In more official, legit news, actually, no, that's coming up wrong.
All right. That was a show.
We did television, everyone.
Turning fire on it, suddenly takes them all. Can't pass by this hill right now. It is just too dangerous.